One of the biggest companies, obviously, in the AI space, bringing us innovation is Google. And they've done some pretty impressive things with their Gemini models. Recently, we saw from a friend of the podcast over on X and on LinkedIn and, everywhere else, Logan Kilpatrick, that Google has released some really impressive new stuff and models. Connor's been kind of diving into all of it because, he's besties with Logan. So Connor, tell us a little bit about what's going on with the new models from Google, what the big changes, are they better, are they faster, are they bigger, and kind of break it down for us.
Google, Jaden, is such an interesting company in this space because quick history for us all, Google was leading the charge on everything in terms of tech ever. And then when OpenAI came out with their stuff, everybody's like, well, we'll just wait for Google. And then Google came out and kind of dropped the ball a little bit. And then they had another bite at the apple and kind of dropped the ball a little bit with the demos that didn't go that well. And then they come out with Gemini. Now, here's the thing with Google. First of all, Gemini is just, it's easy, it's available. Tons of people are already using Google Workspace. But really, people are waiting for the big moves from Gemini. Is this going to be something where they're going to plow ahead? Now, I think what we've seen is that all these horses are pretty much running at the same speed between, especially OpenAI, Gemini, and Anthropic's Claude. But Gemini really, and Google really came out with something pretty wild this week, Jaden. I know you and I were talking about this a little bit. And again, as you said, Logan Kilpatrick is just a sort of a really renowned voice on him. Follow him if you don't. He was at OpenAI. Now he's at Google, really helping their developers. But let's get into it. So Google has released a couple of things. In no particular, by the way, there's more than this. But the funny thing is that the most recent thing was this Google Gemini 1.5 Pro, right? And that's not to be confused with 1.5, Gemini Advanced. This is 1.5 Pro. And the interesting thing about this is that it jumped to the top of that Limbsys Arena Leaderboard, which is this sort of open source way that people track, which is essentially the best model. So right now, if I'm looking at that leaderboard, it's Gemini 1.5 Pro, followed by ChatGPT 4.0, interestingly followed by 4.0 Mini, which is a whole nother conversation, Jaden, which kind of ties into this, followed by 3.5 Sonnet by Claude. Anyway, so right away, Gemini is like, look, we are still a huge dog in this race. We are totally awesome. Look at our amazing new model. But let me just say this. I'm going to throw a couple things out there about the thing that I'm really interested in, which is their Gemma 2.2b model. And the reason that that's so interesting, and this really shocked and kind of overturned the AI community, was that this was just different. Nobody, I think, really saw this coming. And what this is essentially, it's a model that performs at the same level of ChatGPT 3.5, which of course now feels like ancient history, of course. But the crazy thing is that it performs at that level with only 2% or slightly less than 2% of the parameters. And we can talk about a little bit about like what parameters are and all that kind of stuff, but just think about like the brain power. Think about this as, before a silverback gorilla lifting a car, right? But now with Gemma, it's like a chipmunk lifting that exact same car. So it's using a fraction of the parameters, a fraction of this, which also means a fraction of the energy, which also really critically for Google and everybody else means you can put it on your phone, on your laptop, which also critically means that this is going to be huge for privacy, security. But really the exciting things to me are the efficiency by which they're doing a lot with less. Think about the big supercomputers that used to fit in a gymnasium and now they fit in your pocket. It's almost like we're kind of running into that moment right now, which also, as we've seen, GPT 4.0 Mini, same kind of thing. So Jane, that's where I'm seeing this going. That's what's fascinating to me.
Yeah, no, I think it's really exciting, whether you're looking at that, what Google's doing with Gemini here, or whether you're looking at GPT 4.0 Mini. I think a lot of people are underestimating how big of an impact it really has. I saw, when GPT 4.0 Mini came out, I saw a ton of developers specifically saying, like, no one knows, but my margins got 60% better because this thing can do pretty much everything we were doing. Some people might need the most advanced, the biggest model. Oftentimes they don't. These smaller versions, GPT 4.0 Mini, it can get the job done for a huge portion of tasks. And so if you fall into that category, that's a 60% increase on your margin, that's amazing. And, whether they go and pass that along to the customer or they keep it for themselves and become a more profitable company, I think it's huge. And so the other thing that I think is exciting isn't just like, oh, wow, there's this model that came out, GPT-4o Mini, or these new Google Gemini models that are like cool today. I think it's like the implication of where this goes in the future. Like we're going to see better, faster, cheaper, stronger. And to be honest, like we kind of just take it like for face value that, oh yeah, like to train an AI model cost $500 million, or something, or, $100 million or something crazy, because all of these AI startups are spending that much money and we're building out this infrastructure. I think if you look at this in like 10 years, people will be jaw to the floor at the prices we are paying today compared to what we're going to be paying in the future. Not just the prices, but like the quality, the speed, the efficiency, like it's orders of magnitude. And it's not just me like hyping up, oh, this big orders of magnitude jump. Like we're literally seeing it in real time from GPT 3.5 or even from OpenAI's DaVinci 3 model to like what we have today. The cost is coming down to train this model, and the speed, accuracy, efficiency is going up. And it's also cool because for myself, like every time OpenAI comes out with a new model, oftentimes what they're doing is they literally like the pricing, the API side anyways, for developers to use their new models, the fastest, best version, it just feels like so not normal to what I'm used to. I'm used to the newest iPhone costing more than the last iPhone because that's what we always do, bumping up the price. These things, they get cheaper. So it's like the newest one gets cheaper and the old one gets even cheaper, or sometimes they'll leave the old one at a higher price and bring the new one to like the same price or cheaper to essentially incentivize everyone to switch over to the newest thing. And, some people that I've talked to have been like, gee, like, why do they do that, right? Like, why are they making the newest one cheaper? Like, why don't they keep it the same price? Or like, why don't they make it more expensive? People love it. It's better. They can make more money. And the funny thing is, of course, they want everyone to like progress with the technology, but they're actually making it cheaper for themselves to run these newer models. They're better and they're literally cheaper for them. So they're incentivizing you because they're incentivized as well. Anyways, I think it's a fascinating time where these things are. We're seeing some really big jumps, and this makes a big impact when it comes to embedding this into software and actually seeing productivity boosts from this.
Yeah, and I think that it's great to see Google leading the charge on this too. They obviously have so many resources. It's great to see Logan over there helping to lead that charge as well. But you're right. I think often we get sucked into, well, which is the absolute best model? So people will say, well, what's better, OpenAI or ChatGPT or Claude or something? And it's a fun conversation. I really enjoy it. Or is Gemini now really better because now it's hit the top of the leaderboard? But the much bigger questions, Gene, to your point, are, it's the power in my MacBook right now. Yeah, 20 years ago would have fit in a gymnasium or something like that. This is all about making it local, which makes it more private, which answers tons of these concerns about privacy. And also, you're right, people don't need the latest model. We kind of poo-pooed ChatGPT 3.5 a lot, and hallucinations aside, it's still a very powerful model. Like you can do that I would say for 90% of what people do, ChatGPT 3.5, which is ancient at this point, would work totally fine. So when Google's Gemma is coming out and saying, this is 1.5% of the parameters used. And just to give you a sense, when we talk about parameters, one just moment on this, when Google, when these models are being built, right, they have parameters and they have neural networks, which is like a giant brain. And that just means shrinking essentially the size of the brain, which also uses a lot less energy. Now, this is all separate from training data. They're still using, essentially reading the books on the internet and everything on the internet, et cetera. That's all the training data. But with parameters, that's what uses all the compute, meaning all the energy, meaning the chips, meaning everything else. And we were starting to hit this real existential risk that our governments are talking about like, well, what's this going to do for the climate and what's this going to do for everything else? This starts to solve that, and it's being rolled out almost quietly. That's what's exciting to me, right?
Yeah, 100%. It makes me think of the conversation I've had over the last year with a lot of different people, whether that was like regulators or whether that was people actually working on building this stuff. They were like, yeah, in order for us to really hit the levels and the places where we want this AI to go, we have to unlock like nuclear fusion and like thing, make super free energy for everyone
Right.
because like it's just so expensive and like compute intensive and energy intensive, power intensive, etc. So I think it's exciting as we're doing this. It's like there's so much we can do on the software side to make these things faster and more efficient. And yeah, it uses less resources. I've seen some articles on like the amount of water like a Google data center uses for like cooling, and like there's all sorts of like crazy things, right? That go into this. And so making these things more efficient and more effective at the same time is really, really exciting. Big news.
And then also I again, just to sort of say, because this is AI applied, don't get caught up in what's the absolute top model. It's just an indicator. It's an indicator of where they are and how great the tech is, everything else. What this should tell you is that Google Gemini is a serious competitor with ChatGPT, with Claude. Even if you're a new listener and you haven't tried ChatGPT for a while and you're thinking about it as a hallucination machine and you're thinking about Gemini as something that just makes things up, guys, these things have changed dramatically. They are now all incredibly powerful, and the fact that they're really focusing on energy and efficiency now, and they're doing it, I think, relatively quietly, to me, super exciting.
Super, super exciting. Listen, if you enjoyed the episode today, if you learned anything new about Google, Gemini, or anything, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. We really, really appreciate all the reviews you guys have given. You helped us get over 100 reviews recently, so a big shout out to all of you. And if you haven't yet, now is the moment. We'd really appreciate it. On Spotify, you go to the About Us tab, hit About, and you can leave some stars. And on Apple, of course, drop us a comment. We read them all. We appreciate them all. We hope that you all have an amazing rest of your day.